In this episode, I try to untangle my mind around what dressage is and reconcile the dressage that I do with the sport of dressage. In the end, it's about taking back the term dressage. So here we go, episode 199, Taking Back Dressage. Hi, I'm Karen Rohlf, and welcome to Horse Training in Harmony. This podcast is about you making progress with your horse in a way that you both can love. It's about learning how to move and be in harmony. Because yes, you really can develop a horse to be both athletic and happy. When we show up as our best selves for our horses will show up for us. So, let's get started. Lately, I've had so many mixed feelings about dressage. I mean, okay, I always think about this stuff, but lately it's been coming around again. You know, that the name, dressage and what people picture when they hear that word. And yes, it's coming up now because of the Olympics and all the drama around the Olympics. Now, in this episode, I am not going to comment on individual rides and critique them. I mean, I saw lovely moments and I saw not so lovely moments. I saw horses looking powerful and keen and agile and proud and on it. And I saw horses who were not in such harmony with themselves or the environment or their rider. Now listen, I am impressed by anyone who can set a goal to be somewhere at a specific time and a specific place and then aim to be there at their very best in that moment. I mean, that's impressive. And it's double impressive when trying to coordinate that best moment with a horse. But only part of the drama that's happening around the Olympics is coming from the competition arena or the competitors or the horses. So much of the drama comes from the people watching it. There are waves of outrage and support. There are waves of appreciation and righteous condemnation. There's the appropriate, I think, pointing out of horses in distress. And there's, I think, the inappropriate turning of blind eyes to it. There's the appropriate celebration of a horse performing for their rider in lightness and in communication. And there's, I think, sometimes the inappropriate blanket criticisms for anything or anyone related to riding or horses. And I've seen people fighting on social media, often by venting a lifetime of frustration about other people in comments that are only somewhat related to the specific post that they're actually commenting on. I mean, focus, people, focus. Because yes, this is big, important stuff. And yes, some things definitely need to change. And the problem is reaching the mainstream media. People in the general public are now hearing about the biggest problems. People are talking, and the conversation is moving outside the horse world and outside the circle of the people who ought to know best. Now, I've been saying this for years, that the horse world and the governing bodies, such as the FEI, need to be so much better at setting excellent rules based on current science and information and rules of welfare. And here's the important part, enforcing them. Because if they don't, someone from the outside is going to come in and shut it all down. So here we are with some problematic moments and with some beautiful moments of a lifetime of preparation. Yeah, maybe not perfect, but who is perfect? And there are some problems that I think can be forgiven and some can't. But here we are in the news Reuters, The Guardian, mainstream media outlets. And here's the headline: dressage, blue tongues, horse abuse. And then, oh no, oh no, the word dressage is in the name of what I call what I do. I mean, in 2005, seemed like a great idea. But sitting down next to someone on a plane now, and I say dressage, what are they going to know? Oh, I saw something about that. Or don't horses' tongues turn blue? And isn't it abusive? So I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, in this climate. I mean, I've been thinking this for years because people picture all kinds of things when I hear the word dressage. Natural. But I'm thinking, so do I need to change it? I mean, do I need to change the name? Do I just focus on, Karen Rohlf and the Karen Rohlf method or whatever? I mean, I do believe, you guys know, that I think words matter. And culture changes, and sometimes we need to change the words we use. Now, I see other professionals, especially the younger professionals, digging deep into the thesaurus to find other words to describe what they do. I mean, they're doing dressage stuff, but they're using words like connected, for their business, connected, whatever, harmony, this or that, relationship, emotional, connected. I mean, this is wonderful. I mean, imagine the opposite, right? I do forced horsemanship or the cold-hearted training system. I mean, like, this is all good. And believe me, my heart is happy to see this new wave of professionals. But today, as I'm out riding Ovation, who's now 21 years old, and he feels like a 7-year-old with great potential. I mean, he is eager. He is willing. He's relaxed, energized, balanced, free. He's educated. And he's a total goofball. And then I ride Natia, who's had a bit of time off to let an injury heal, and getting back on her and starting her back up again. She feels better than before the injury. She's like ready. She's willing. She's like, come on, yay, we get to do stuff again. I've been bored. She's proud. And I think I am not going to contort myself. I'm going to take the word dressage back. Okay, you guys, if you've been listening to the pod, you know that when I want to explore a word, I start looking up the definitions of it. So let's look at what that word means. I mean, it's really, the root of it is it's a French word that just means training. So, there, training. The United States Dressage Federation says the Olympic sport of dressage is derived from the French term meaning training, and its purpose is to strengthen and supple the horse while maintaining a calm and attentive demeanor. That sounds like something I'd like to do. Now, if you look in Merriam-Webster dictionary, it says, this is a sport involving the execution of precise movements by a trained horse in response to barely perceptible signals from its rider. The word dressage means training in French. All right, precise movements, barely perceptible signals from the rider. I'm up for that. All right, what does Wikipedia say? Wikipedia says dressage is a form of horse riding performed in exhibition and competition, as well as an art sometimes pursued solely for the sake of mastery. Yeah, count me in on that. You got me. The FEI, the International Equestrian Federation, defines dressage as the highest expression of horse training. It's an equestrian sport where the horse and rider perform a series of predetermined movements from memory in an arena. The FEI also defines the principles of dressage as developing a happy horse, where the horse should be calm, supple, loose, flexible, confident, attentive, and keen, and there should be gentle contact, where the rider should emphasize gentle contact through the reins. All right, so far, still seems pretty okay, right? Now, what the FEI, that description from the FEI was referring to is something you've probably heard me recite on this podcast before, which is the official object of dressage, which is And this is according to the FEI. The object of dressage is the development of the horse into a happy athlete through harmonious education, resulting in a horse that is calm, loose, supple, and flexible, but also confident, attentive, and keen, thus achieving perfect understanding with his rider. Now that's straight from the FEI. That's their description. And I remember reading that quote in the dressage rulebook back when I was 16 and just starting to compete at the higher levels. And it really touched me. I felt proud that that's what I do. I'm doing dressage, and that's what dressage is. And I've been striving for that every day since. So you know what? I don't need to change the name of what I do. I don't need to change my business name. I don't need to stop using the term dressage because I'm taking back the word dressage. I'm taking it back. And it's up to the sport dressage to figure out whether or not they are doing dressage. Can I have a hallelujah, amen, sister? Now, a while ago, I made a video called Dressage Explained in 4 minutes and 11 seconds. And I'm going to play that audio here. I'll also post the link to the video because there's some drawings that go along with it. But I think I'm going to play it here so you can hear the audio. So yeah, we'll do that now. Dressage starts with a happy horse minding his own business, just being a horse. And then we come along and we love this horse. We have dreams and we have hopes for him. Of course, the horse has suspicions. But if we do things well, he becomes relaxed around us and starts to trust us as his worthy partner. And then at some point we get on him. And if you look closely at the first moment that we get on him, it can look something like this. He isn't sure how to deal with the weight. His mind is suspicious, again, and the back goes down and the muscles on his top line contract. Now, there are some horses who, when presented with this feeling of weight on their back, solve the problem by doing this. And many of these horses actually end up becoming great dressage horses because they have the innate ability to solve this problem of a contracted back. So the first stage of training is meant to help us recover from this dynamic. And we want to return to this, which is just a horse feeling like he can be his happy self again, even when we're on his back. And so he can regain his more natural movement. Now, if we skip this step and we try to take that suspicious, contracted horse and start making him do stuff, he's going to just move very oddly, unnaturally, and eventually painfully. So this first stage of riding is about earning his trust and partnership all over again, because the posture that we're trying to create in dressage is destroyed by fear, confusion, and the feeling of helplessness. But we can't just leave it as recovered from being suspicious and contracted. We have to really strengthen his skills for finding this healthy biomechanic. So here's some anatomy. The horse's spine looks a little like this. The spinous processes in the front are pointing back, and the ones in the back are pointing forward. So when we sit on them, we actually make that worse. And in the worst case scenario, the spines can actually touch and cause pain and cause the back muscles to contract and protect the spine. So we have to find a place of balance where the back can come out of contraction. And when that happens, the spinous processes can spread and not cause pain. So the purpose of dressage is to find that place of balance through movement. But we need to let the horse tell us where he feels balanced and not where we just think he looks balanced. And he tells us by the way he moves, because in the place of balance, his back can relax, his neck can reach forward, he can breathe deeper, and his strides become freer and more powerful. And this is the ingredient that counteracts the damaging contraction. His spine is then supported through ligament systems, allowing the muscles to be free and his movement to become elastic and fluid. And we have to continue to earn his trust and partnership all along the way, because the posture we want to create is destroyed by fear, confusion, and the feeling of helplessness. Everything that we do must be for the horse and to help him find this healthy movement. Now, every horse can benefit from finding this balanced, stretchable working gait. And then gradually, artfully, progressively, patiently, we exercise the horse to increase his strength, stamina, and coordination so he can carry this quality of movement and posture into and through collection. So the basics of dressage is a gift that we can give the horse to repay him for having the burden of carrying us. We really owe it to him. Now, going to the upper levels is actually a gift that our horse can give us if we earn it. It's not something we can take from him. He owes us nothing. So what did Wikipedia say? There's the art of dressage pursued solely for the sake of mastery. And then there's sport, where the art is taken into a different arena so that there can be comparison between two individuals doing it to determine who's best. So I guess in sport, I can see why equipment would need to be similar enough to have like a level playing field. But in the art of dressage, I'm able to use what each horse prefers or understands better. I can make choices and decisions that benefit the individual horse for no other reason than it benefits the horse and makes it easier for the horse to be comfortable and to understand what I'm saying. Now, here's the thing. In saying that, we could say, oh, let there be no rules about equipment. Let the riders decide. But of course, without regulation, some people may use that freedom to use harsher equipment. So we do need to have some rules. So it's complicated. It's complicated. I think humans will always try to find a way to cut a corner or gain an advantage over someone else. But that's a problem of sport. That's a problem of competition. That is not a problem of dressage inherently. As I practice my art of dressage, I can ride a horse bitless if he prefers. I can use a curb bit as a refined communication when appropriate. For example, with ovation, he goes best in a bitless with a curb, but with the curb chain removed. Now that's really misusing that piece of equipment. Or it's what I noticed, he goes the most lightly in. Oh yeah, and I use a neck rope because that way we have less chance of him shortening his neck, his very, very flexible neck. So as I practice my art of dressage, I can not use spurs. And I can train to make sure I don't need them. And then I can decide to have them on if it offers a lighter and even more precise communication if the horse accepts it and finds it not offensive. So now, making double bridles mandatory, I guess, was an easier way for judges to compare. And, part of the original reasoning for having the double is to show such a high level of training that the horse accepts two bits in their mouth and still has, the suppleness and looseness and flexibility and all these things. But, it ends up being just a tool for some horses to hang on or be uncomfortable with. Now, spurs are optional, which is a huge step, but I think everybody still uses them. But for every horse who does accept a double bridle, there are probably 100 who hate bits and never get to show their riders how well they actually would go without a bit in their mouth. So, I already know that there are, upper level competitors who know their horse goes better in a snaffle, but they can't. So it seems to me, according to sport dressage, that demanding that a horse, quote, accept and tolerate the double bridle is more important to their sport than the quality of the conversation, right? The militaristic uniformity is more important than the individual horse. I mean, how could it hurt to allow riders more options? Bitless, snaffle, curb, double bridle, and then just truly judge the quality of the connection. Of course, that brings up the subject of nosebands and how can they claim to be judging the quality of the contact when the mouth is clamped shut, but that's another story. The rules of the sport of dressage prohibit the art of dressage by limiting more gentle choices, but the rules are there also to protect horses from people who would do more harm if they could, and that makes my brain and heart hurt, and I want to scream because I don't want to be wrapped up in or associated with that mess. But the mess is not with dressage, it's a mess of the sport of dressage. And the rules, trends, fashions, heroes, and villains of the sport will come and go, and the art remains, principle-based, not rule-based, where each day we compete against yesterday and strive to be better than ourselves instead of someone else, where we can make special decisions for individual horses. Dressage is the development of the horse into a happy athlete through harmonious education, resulting in a horse that's calm, loose, supple, and flexible, but also confident, attentive, and keen, thus achieving perfect understanding with his rider. That is my dressage. And that's what I've been thinking about lately. Now, a lot of you are familiar with my Happy Athlete Training Scale, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But basically, it's my training pyramid, where the base of it and the base of everything is happiness. And then when you're a happy horse and a happy human, you can be in better harmony. So harmony is next. And when you're in harmony together, you can communicate with each other and have understanding. And then when you can understand each other, you can talk about things like way of moving and healthy biomechanics. And then I used to have dressage up at the top, the pinnacle. But I'm just made a change to that. Just this week, last week, because there's something I just couldn't figure out. Why isn't it sitting well? Why isn't it sitting well? And I'm thinking dressage is not the top of that. It's the whole thing. Even if just looking at the object of dressage that I just said, all of that is built in. Happiness, harmony, communication, understanding. It's all built in. So the Happy Athlete Training School, the dressage is not the pinnacle. The dressage is the whole thing. It's the base, the art of dressage. And now that's the kind of dressage I can embrace fully. That's the dressage I'm proud to do. Away from the constraints of the sport, I'm allowed to make different decisions for my horse. And that Happy Athlete Training School is really a framework to guide me to make, hopefully, the best decisions for that individual horse. It helps me prioritize. The principles and the priorities are built right into it. And that's what I mean about taking back dressage. I took dressage, the word dressage, off the pinnacle of that training scale, and I said, no, it doesn't live up there. It's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. So what is the pinnacle? Well, I put the word sport up there. And I put the word sport meaning, competition, but also sport-specific training. Because when you have created the happiness and harmony and communication and healthy way of moving, then you can add on the sport-specific training of any sport. Because I get so many people who get help from me with their horses who actually say that they have no interest in doing dressage. Now, it was always my secret that what they are doing when they're doing the happiness and the harmony and the communication, the biomechanics, that is dressage. But I realized, wow, they're confused because even I'm talking about it this way. So they might not be interested in doing competition or the fancy upper level stuff, but that's not dressage. That's just fancy upper level stuff in sport. Everybody can benefit from dressage. I mean, that's what I learned. When I first learned dressage, I was taught that dressage benefits every horse. The art of dressage does. Not necessarily the sport of dressage. All right, so the art of dressage is a gift that we give the horse. It should benefit the horse. It's something that if we do it well, the horse goes, thank you. That's something I couldn't have experienced without you. And it's kind of cool. The sport of dressage is a gift that our horse gives us if we're worthy. Our horses owe us nothing.